We'll do it live. F it.
El Horrible.
How's it going?
Good, good. Good to have you. Good to have
Thank
you. You are definitely a well-known figure in the dabbleverse.
Yes.
You know, my channel is not all dabble related. I do dabble in true crime and other things, but I dabble in the dabbleverse.
Sure.
I don't know everything, and I have to have knowledge within the dabbleverse. And that was Corn Div last time, and now El Horrible, and it's an honor.
Well, thank you, sir. Yes. I can't say that I know everything, but I'll try to fill in any gaps that I can. Hey, is that the band Just Zebra?
Mm-hmm.
That's the band that John used to have come play at his parties and stuff, right?
Yes.
That's hilarious. All right.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm a big Zebra fan, and actually, yeah, I followed and heard all that as it happened because I go way back with Stern. And yeah,
Sure.
yes, it is.
That's
They're
hilarious.
in New Orleans. They're in well, they started in New Orleans, where I'm from. They were like the first big like rock. I wouldn't call them metal. I call them hard rock. They definitely have some metal in them.
Do they have any popular songs? Like any hits?
One of the most popular songs is "Who's Behind the Door," but we're talking early 80s.
I remember John having them at his parties.
Yeah.
How did John know them?
Okay. Yeah, wasn't John signed to Atlantic when he came out with his record?
Yes.
Yeah, so Zebra is as well.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Zebra was on Atlantic. They had 3 records on Atlantic. They were in they started, you know, all 3 albums came out in the 80s.
Yes.
And they moved from New Orleans to New York when they got signed.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
Zebra's really been in Long Island, New York since that long. I interviewed Randy Jackson, the singer and guitar player for Zebra, and I thought about bringing that up, but honestly, man, I didn't want to. I wasn't sure where it would go.
Sure. I want to ask him. I'm so curious because I don't think they played his wedding, but they used to play like his parties. But I know they played at least 1 or 2, and he was very proud of it. You know, he was very proud to brag that he knew Zebra. Yeah,
well, and he's on Zebra's DVD.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Like and you can see it on YouTube if you look up Zebra.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Randy Jackson, did John ever pay you?
Oh yeah, I imagine he must have, right?
But John doesn't pay for anything according to lore.
You have to interview that guy again, man. You interviewed him recently?
Yeah, I did. I probably last month.
Oh, you dropped the ball.
No,
get back on it.
I didn't because Zebra's like my childhood heroes, and it was such a big deal to me to have Randy Jackson because I grew up listening to Zebra. I get it. And I didn't want this interview to just take a turn, you know.
Okay. The next one, you definitely have to bring up John. He'll probably laugh. He'll probably think it's fun. I mean, you know, I don't know. It could go either way. I still don't even know that song you mentioned. I would have to hear it.
You know, you probably heard it on classic rock songs.
Yeah, possibly.
It's a distinguishable song. I can see why you wouldn't. I mean, I don't know how old you are. You could be timeless.
16.
Yeah, that's right. I did see that on your YouTube. You're 16. So yeah, you would have never. You probably don't even know what MTV is. You know.
No, but the only thing I knew about Zebra is that they were a band from Long Island. I didn't even know that they were from Louisiana before that. And that the only thing I knew about them was that they played John's parties. So that's just hilarious to me.
Yeah, and Stern was at one of these parties, I believe.
Sure. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And well, since we're on that subject, how in the world did you urinate in Howard Stern's
his private bathroom?
How'd that happen?
I got an internship. I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting in Hasbrook Heights. Same alumni as Artie Lang. It's a 6-month program. And basically, once your check clears, you graduate. And how it works is the Connecticut School of Broadcasting gives the radio stations slave labor. And in turn, the radio station promotes the school. Like, back in like the 80s and stuff, anyone could go to a radio station and go, hey, I want to like help out here. I want to be an intern. And then all of a sudden it turned into, oh, well, you have to get college credit. Like, why do you have to go to college to be on the radio? Like, that's really stupid. So they would always advertise Connecticut School of Broadcasting on Howard. My parents at the time, this was like 2006, they were like, you got to figure out what you're doing, dude. Because I was just kind of like, whatever. I was kind of doing PA jobs in New York City, like whenever I could get. But once I got graduated from Connecticut School of Broadcasting, I got an internship at K-Rock. But this was right after Howard left. So it was actually free FM. Part of my job was to screen calls, and I was very outgoing, and I was writing bits. And I was writing things for the radio show that I was interning.
And you sound like a young John Melendez.
Yes, exactly. I was a young go-getter. But the coolest thing to me was they broadcasted out of Howard's old studio.
Oh, wow.
It's this giant studio, dude. And they actually took the things off the walls. So there was actually windows there, because when Howard was there, he blacked everything out. There were still remnants of Howard's old studio. And we were, the interns and the call screener were stationed in Robin's booth. So that's where I worked every day. And I was like,
that's geeking crazy, out. Exactly, man.
And you know, you saw
that's
the
like
hallway.
The Holy Grail, you know?
Exactly. And everyone just used Howard's bathroom because it's right there. And it's nothing special. It's just a tiny little bathroom.
It is.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, but by the time he was gone, it was just, you know, it's just a little bathroom.
But it's still a place where, like, history
cool.
took place, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I would go take a tour of that studio. I mean, I was watching that show when it, you know, the E! Show's where I kind of started because.
A lot of people did, because you didn't get the radio show.
Exactly. But then the radio show started getting syndicated in Memphis, where I went to college and where I've been.
Sure.
Yeah, that studio, man, that's a big deal.
It was awesome, yeah. And I always wanted to ask, there's a big, and Howard's board was still there, and there were things written on it, like that you knew was from Stern. And the one thing that caught my eye was a big red button that just said 2 words, "Look, Fred." So I'm assuming this was a button to get Fred's attention. But yeah, so that was really cool. And so I interned there for like over a year, and they actually offered me a job, and literally at the same time the whole IMUS thing happened. So I was like hired for
hose.
Yep. And they were part of Free FM was part of CBS Radio, same as IMUS, and they just said, hey, we got to pull the plug on all this. Why are we risking our radio licenses on personalities? And that's when they switched over to all music again. But I had a great experience there. I met a ton of like celebrities. I met Gilbert Gottfried. I met Penn Jillette. I met, you know, just everyone came through that place. And Jackie Martling. It was just awesome to be, like you said, just seeing where everything took place on E. Wood Yee was still working there at the time. He was an extremely nice man. His name was Steve. And he actually lived kind of near me in North Jersey at the time. And so we would talk about that, and just a really nice guy. I heard he's passed away since.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I don't listen to Howard anymore. I kind of stopped once Eric the Midget died, and I think that was pretty much it. I kind of hung in there for AGT. I tried to go to a live AGT event, but they weren't letting people in. Like, they already sold the tickets. Like, it was a big, like, kind of scam, and I hated it. But
well, El Harible, let me ask you, since we're on this Stern topic.
Yes.
Like, that's a common sort of discussion. When did he jump the shark? And for me, I think AGT is when he jumped the shark.
That's when I knew it was. I mean, I knew it was done when Artie left, and it didn't seem like they were really looking to replace him. And I hung in there literally just for Eric the Midget.
Yeah.
And once Eric, because I knew, like, Howard always had this thing where he was trying to be cool. I don't like mainstream media. Mainstream media sucks.
I did an impression of Billy Crystal. It's not fun. It's not funny. You know, when John asked him some question, and I was explaining it to Corn Diff, and I went back and I wanted to listen to it again. And it's just amazing how Stern has become Billy Crystal. Like, he's become, and so has John in a way. You know, John's whole "I don't dabble." That Chrissy said to him inadvertently, I think, what he has said to celebrities that made him famous, but it's the same exact thing. He basically went to celebrities to say, "Who are you? What makes you famous?"
Right.
And now he's offended.
And he was offended by it. Oh yeah, no, the hypocrisy is insane. And yes, Howard has turned into Billy Crystal, but I think even more shockingly is that he is turned into personality, well, not personality wise, but appearance wise, Don Imus.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
He looks like an old Don Imus. Like throw a cowboy hat and a red handkerchief, over his throat, and he would be the spitting image of Don Imus, which I never saw coming.
Well, I mean, Beth is his Dieter.
Yeah, Dieter.
Don Imus was awful. I mean, because he was syndicated here as well, and I was working at a screen print shop as an apprentice, so I kind of had to listen to what the main guy listened to, and he would listen to Imus and Rush Limbaugh, and but I always thought Imus was terrible.
I have to say, I mean, I've only heard very limited Imus stuff. I don't know anything from him back in the day when him and Howard were like at NBC. I was very loyal to Howard as a kid.
Yeah.
And my dad was he was a Howard guy, but then my dad always switched over to when I was a kid, Imus was on the sports talk radio station, WFAN in New York City.
Oh yeah.
So it was Imus in the morning, and then the rest of the day was sports. So I grew up listening to Stern, and then once Stern was done, we went right over to WFAN. It was like Mike and the Mad Dog, these two guys, Mike Francesa.
Yeah, Stern, I really felt he definitely lost it. It just got with that AGT thing. I think that was a turn. Obviously, the Pelican Brief.
Yes.
That was a signaling of change.
That sucked me back in for a second. I didn't listen to the show, but I definitely was interested in that. And just it's crazy just to hear that like Gary has to answer to like this woman and I'm sure at this point in his life, Gary's just happy to still have, this career and being part of the Stern Show and, having a nice paycheck. But creatively, man, these people have to feel stifled. Like I feel really bad for like Sal and Richard.
Oh, the worst. They're the most talented ones there. I'll still go to YouTube and I'll listen to old Stern stuff. And he's been threatening that for decades. He's always said, I don't want to deal with Baba Booey. I don't want to deal with you, Gary. I want someone else to do this stuff. And that's what he finally did. He finally got someone else to be the bad cop.
Yeah, you can look at it that way, I guess. But I just don't understand. Like he just hired this woman because she was big on that getting things done book or something, right? Like she wasn't even like really a part of that book, right? She just like really believes in it like Howard does. Like the same thing with that like shit about like, oh, there is no back pain. It's all in your head. Like Howard's been pushing that shit.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was like, man, I can't even imagine not having this show in my life. And now I haven't had it in my life in over 10 years.
Same.
Because I think Eric the Midget died in like 2012. I think 2012 was the year I quit.
I still go back and listen to those Eric the Midget.
Oh, sure. Oh, dude, I'm on 1995 now. Every now and then I go all the way back to like the Billy West years. I usually pick it up at 94, and I just finished the entire year of 94. I'm on to 95. And in between all the live shows that we watch and stuff, if there's nothing going on, I listen to an old Stern, and I go in order. I enjoy listening to it in order. But yeah, there's so many great clips out on YouTube.
Yeah, I like that question. That other question, other than when did Stern jump to shark, is the other one is, what do you like better, the Jackie years or the Artie years?
They're so different. There's so many different things. It's really hard. My favorite person on the Stern Show ever was Billy West, and I'm starting to realize. Yeah, I'm starting to realize he influenced me a lot with all these characters I've been doing and stuff.
I can see that. Yeah.
Definitely. And it was just so raw back then. Like I'm now in 95 and they're just starting to talk about the news using the word, the N-word. Meanwhile, Howard is saying the word. It was just different back then. And just the OJ song parodies. I played on my show a great clip where Howard actually got Anthony's OJ song parody and he started to play it. and they cut out after like the second line. They did not even give it a chance. And it's so interesting because that same song is the whole reason Anthony is who he is, because that was sent to Opie, and Opie heard it and was like, "Holy shit, I need to get this guy in here."
Yeah, you know what? That's okay.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, you just blew my mind because I knew at some point Anthony was on Stern's show, but I didn't know the exact detail that you just gave.
So that's like a hidden little Easter egg thing that I actually just found listening to 1994. In December of 1994 was when Anthony was actually on the show for the Jackie Martling impersonation contest, which there is an e-show of that. So there is video footage of Anthony doing Jackie Martling impressions, which again, everyone is doing a Billy West Jackie puppet.
Right. Yeah, most of my, like, I realized my Billy Crystal impression was Billy West's impression.
It wasn't Billy West, it was another guy. I don't remember his name. And actually, Billy Crystal, I don't think ever said it's not funny. It's not fun. Right. He just said it's not fun.
Yeah, I know. That's when I went back and when I listened to it, I was like, wow, I had it wrong. I'm impersonating an impersonation of that.
Yes, the Billy Crystal guy who used to call in. I don't remember. I don't know who his name was. I'm sure they said it. I don't remember. It was not Craig Gass. I know that.
Okay. Because then they brought it to another level. It's neither fun nor funny. But she never said any of that.
Right, exactly. They exaggerated it, but then it became. I had my best friend growing up. We met when we were like 16, and we were in different high schools, but we both loved Stern. And he said the greatest thing. He was like, I love Stern, and because I love Stern, I have to hate Billy Crystal, but I don't exactly know why I hate Billy Crystal. And I totally agreed with it. But I always feel like it was because of that impersonator. He overhyped that impression so much that you just thought Billy Crystal was this huge dick. But he was, he was just like, come on, stop fucking with me.
I literally listened to it like yesterday or today. What it was Billy Crystal was cool with Howard Stern like a couple of years earlier when he was playing along, and then somewhere along the way he got kind of a big head. It seemed like that was the way Stern pushed the narrative.
Sure.
And then Billy Crystal became too Hollywood, and then he became, you could take that paper, shove it up Howard's ass, or whatever he said.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I like the Jackie years a lot. I would probably, just to be the devil's advocate, because most people are going to say Artie's years. I would say the Jackie years. But his every time he just went he did that hoot. I mean, it just makes me laugh.
I remember just my dad Jackie's laugh, like, and even when they would, do the news thing and a horrible story comes up and Fred plays Jackie's laugh. Like, I remember being a little kid and laughing at that, and because it made my dad laugh. Yeah. And like Jackie's laugh just in the background could make my dad like laugh. And my dad wasn't like the biggest laugher in the world. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think most people do say the Artie years, and it's just different. And it's also where you jumped on Stern. I was very early. I was the late 80s. I remember Butt Bongo. My dad had all the videos. My parents didn't monitor anything I did. I knew the Andrew Dice Clay nursery rhymes like more than I knew the regular nursery rhymes, all that kind of crap.
One of the best comedy CDs ever.
There you go.
The Day the Laughter Died.
Yep.
I was listening to this in like 9th grade, 8th grade.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, dude. And but going back to the impression thing, I'm like honored now because I've almost become, my Kevin Brennan impression has almost become the Jackie puppet impression.
It's good.
Everyone doesn't do Kevin Brennan. They do me doing Kevin Brennan. Yeah. So I'm like honored. Like, I love it. I want everyone to keep doing the Kevin Brennan impression. Yeah. Because you're all fucking idiots.
Oh, you are the best. That's freaking awesome, man.
It's an honor.
There's just a way you do it though, that you just put this affect on it. That just idiots. I can't.
Well, I think Kevin's from Philly, right?
I don't know.
I think Kevin's from Philly, so he would always get hoagies and cokes. And I didn't grow up too far from Philly, and I don't know. Maybe that's why, but I don't know. I'm learning. I never considered myself an impersonator at all.
I wanted to kind of pick up a little bit where I left off on the comprehensive history of the dabbleverse that I did with Corn Diff. It kind of gave a high level overview of the dabbleverse, where it came from, the players within it, and we kind of left off at DabbleCon. And there's been, as you know, there's been a lot that's changed since DabbleCon.
Mm-hmm.
So after DabbleCon, John, who was the center of all this dabbling energy, inspired this DabbleCon, and then he takes his ball and goes home. He's like, if I'm just going to do this shitty podcast, let's be honest, and other people are going to take it like Greg Kinnear and Talk Soup and use it as transformative content and get more numbers and more money and more super chats than I am, I'm just not going to do it anymore.
For myself personally, I felt a bit johned out after DabbleCon. I felt like, all right, this is a good closure. You know, maybe John won't come back, and like this is where it should end. And he hasn't really come back. I mean, he's been on Twitter and stuff like that. And a lot of people have asked me, you know, without John, is there still even a dabbleverse? And it was the best move John could have done, possibly. Or it was, because there's not a lot, there's nothing to do. That's why we moved on to Chad. Chad has like completely Chad and MLC. I mean, you know, MLC is entertaining, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I guess we're kind of goofing on them too, but
yeah, I think, and that's what's kind of happened. It's like, I mean, you know, Chad Zumock is certainly an interesting character. Let's see, how do I say this? The dabbleverse chooses you. You don't choose the dabbleverse. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And the dabbleverse chose him, and he kind of just walked into it and took over and made some dabbling type.
Well, Chad is definitely a dabbler because he reminds us all that most of his shows are not shows.
Yeah.
And he just started doing this in January, despite the fact that he's had a YouTube channel forever.
Yeah.
But yes, he's only taking it seriously because he did live stream before January, but he claims, just like he was quitting drinking in the new year, that he just started live streaming in January. So he's a dabbler.
Anyone who doesn't want to be called a dabbler, do a good show. Put out good content, and you won't be considered a dabbler. It's that simple.
Right.
Don't rely on super chats. Don't rely on drama.
Right.
Actually prepare for an interview.
That's it, man. Everyone's a fucking idiot. I don't know if you curse on this show, but
go ahead.
Kevin Brennan does.
Everybody's an idiot. That, to me, that's not content, but
that is pretty much what he's going on and saying, is like, hey, I can fucking go on anytime I want, and all you fucking idiots are gonna send me super chats. That's what I feel, because he just goes on to go on. It's like today he called an emergency episode, which I get, it's a joke for an emergency episode, but he basically came on to do a show to say, I'm also going to do a show tonight at 11 o'clock. So he did a show for like an hour, got some super chats just to say, hey, I'm going to come back on tonight at 11 o'clock. So I could get more of your stupid chats, you stupid idiots, you fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel. Like, when I do a show, I do a show because I feel like I have enough content to keep people entertained. I never promote super chats, and people send me super chats. I am so grateful. Now we have YouTube memberships. I have that. I've gotten like 70 members in the last week. I just started it last week. Like, I couldn't be more thankful. The idea that people want to pay to see my stupid content and my stupid characters and my stupid ideas is just thrilling to me. And like people like you who want to interview me, like I can't say no to people right now because I just feel so grateful that people are interested in this crap. And that's why it kind of offends me, even though like I'm a new creator. Like, yeah, I've been creating things my whole life, and only now have people been noticing me. But like I have a respect for people who work hard. That's why Carl from WATP was the inspiration to get me to do this, because I said, why am I like it was genius when I heard what Carl was doing. He basically was taking the Jocktober thing, and I was like, God damn it, I should have thought of that. That was brilliant, fucking genius. I started listening like in 2020, I guess, right around when COVID started. I just had more time, and I listened to everything. Like I went all the way back. Like I was like, holy shit, I couldn't get enough of it. And it inspired me to just create the Bedabbler recorded videos. And people liked them, and then I needed views. I need those view hours. So live streaming is the best way. And thankfully, people came over, and I got my hours very quickly. Like when I was talking to my mom today about this interview, I was like, it's very interesting to me that people even want to interview me, because I don't know if you think this is going to bring people to your channel, but you'll be lucky if you get like 2 or 5 subscribers at the most. Like, I don't know.
I do it for fun.
Okay, well, that's
the
great.
Difference.
I'm glad. If someone is willing to talk to me about the stuff that I created, like all right, breaking kayfabe, I've spent almost 40 years of my life trying to prove to whoever that, I have ideas. I'm funny. I think I'm funny. I always thought I was funny, but you always have that fear that like, oh, I'm the funny guy at work, or I'm the funny guy here. And then because I've done open mics since I was like in my mid-20s. Like I was in bands before I realized.
You dabbled.
I dabbled. Yes, I dabbled in bands before I realized I wanted to be on stage, but I was doing the wrong thing. I was playing music. I should have been doing comedy that whole time.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So now that I'm, at this advanced stage of 16, the fact that people like you and anyone who appreciates my stuff and actually wants to take time out to actually talk to me about it, I can't say no right now.
I do like to interview people, though. It is something I really enjoy and I like to do, and I feel like I'm good at, because I did it in a journalism kind of way through writing. I used to interview people and write articles that would go in magazines about people. So
sure,
through that interview process of trying to write these articles, I realized I was getting the answers to questions I didn't ask, but I wanted to ask.
Sure.
So I can kind of lead things to where I want them to go without being like, all right, here's my list of questions. Question 1.
Steering the ship.
Right.
No, I was going to say, you're an excellent interviewer. I'm having I'm having a great time, and definitely opening up to you. I feel like I've even talked about stuff on this that I haven't talked about in other interviews. But yeah, no, you're very good at this, and I'm enjoying it, and you're knowledgeable. And I'm telling you, like the second I saw those Zebra albums, but again, I thought you put those there purposely because they were a band that played John's parties. I was like, okay, this guy knows his shit.
Well, I do know my shit, but that's not the reason.
Yes, no, totally.
And I think that's what makes the dabbleverse what it is. We all kind of come either one way or the other. We're a Stern fan or an O&A fan.
Yes.
I really think that's one of the kind of prerequisites to really be into it. Like people might come to my channel and watch these interviews and think they're funny and interesting, but they don't really grasp unless they're an O&A and a Stern fan.
So you were a Stern fan before an O&A fan, right?
Yeah, I never listened to O&A until they were off the air, and I went back on YouTube. I think
just curious.
No, I'll tell you what it was. I thought the Mel Gibson, when he was yelling at his Russian wife on the phone,
right?
You should smile and blow me. Remember that?
Yeah.
I listened to anyone who cut that up. And
okay.
I thought Stern and Robin were great with it, but that's the first time I think I heard Opie and Anthony and Patrice.
Interesting. Okay, that's awesome.
And then through that, I was like, man, these guys are funny with this Mel Gibson phone call thing. And then I just started, going down the rabbit hole of Opie and Anthony, and that's so, yeah, they weren't syndicated here. And when I was, and like you, I was like Stern all the way. I didn't want to listen to anything else. It was just Stern and Liquid Metal.
Yeah.
That was it. and I just retain a lot of information for some reason when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, same.
I remember when Cardiff Electric came out. Early on, he started doing some John stuff. He was just basically saying, "Look, Uncle Rico's doing it, Carl's doing it. I'm entering the starting John Melendez industry," and he really called it right because the way I see it from afar, like I said, I see it as a marketplace.
Right.
And Dabbler fans are the ones sending these super chats. So these guys better watch their ass, because when this dabbleverse turns on them, they're not going to be getting super chats anymore. Would you agree with me?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing is, like, there's so many great people who super chat every day, and it's insane to me that they have the ability to do that. But I mean, there are just a handful of ones that are like the big super chat whales, if you will, with no other way to explain it. And yeah, I mean, if they disappear, like, a lot of these shows are done. Like, a lot of these people don't understand. Like David Chandler, he's an amazing man, an extremely generous man. But if David Chandler, just for whatever reason, decides, hey, I don't like this show, or I'm not gonna support the show, like, that's a major hit on a lot of these shows for super chats. And like, I always say, like, I'm curious to see a MLC show where there are just like no super chats. Like, what does that show look like? Is it just Kevin losing his mind?
That's like Bud Light deciding to put Dylan whatever
Mulvaney
on a beer can.
Sure.
The MLC stock's just gonna go.
And I mean, I don't know. Like, can he grow MLC to new people? Like, I don't know. Like, when does it stop?
He's been doing it for a while. I mean, but once again, it's like, if we're talking about market share, I wouldn't call a dabbleverse a huge market share.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not.
No, Chrissy Mayer doesn't need the dabbleverse, right?
No.
But I'm fair with everyone. Like, I told Corn Diff, I thought Chad Zumach at the Kevin Brennan roast, I mean, obviously he stumbled in a room full of sharks, man. And when they see blood, they just attack them, especially the main host, Master General. What was his name?
Aaron Berg.
Oh, God, he was ruthless.
Yeah.
He was like, ruthless, man.
This is kind of the last class of those, like, I think, like, offensive comedians. Like, I don't follow any real new comedians, but from what I hear, it's just not the same as what it used to be, because, like, all those comics, they're so used to ripping on each other.
Yeah.
And now, and I think maybe Chad, I don't know, like, Chad, I can't believe Chad's almost 50 and he's at the level he's at with comedy. Like, when did he start? Like, he could not have started in his 20s.
Are you saying he's at the bottom rung?
I mean, not so much at the bottom.
Seriously.
I'm just, no, he's not a middler is a great, but like, he is at the same, like, I guess the same could be said about Ray DeVito, even though I feel like Ray DeVito is probably a much better stand-up than Chad, based on the evidence I've seen. But again, it's like, man, these guys are literally like in their 50s, and Ray's like driving from Cleveland to St. Louis to go headline for $500 an open mic. And it's like, why? How does that work out? I'm
going to tell you how that works out.
Gas alone.
They sold their soul for it, and it didn't work out. There's a bunch of musicians out there that didn't make it in the industry.
Sure.
You were like, what happened? All of a sudden I'm 50, and I was going to be a rock star, and I'm not. I was going to be a comedian, and I'm not. It's entertainment, not everyone makes it. And when you're 50 and you've wasted all that time trying to make it, and you don't have a family, you don't have a career, LinkedIn don't give a shit if you played Chuckles Comedy Club with Bob Levy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how these guys survive. Like, now they're bringing in some money with super chats, but I don't know, man. I don't get it. It seems depressing.
It kind of is, but then it isn't. It's like everyone made their bed in a way,
Right.
But my impression is, like, I don't know if Ray DeVito has kids. It's all about kids.
No,
it's all
they
about
don't.
Being married,
they don't.
Like, I'm married. I have kids. Like,
they don't have any of that.
But if I didn't, I would have been at fucking DabbleCon yelling skull drinking beer, you know?
Sure.
I mean, it's a trade-off, you know?
Right. It's true.
It doesn't take a lot to live and pay rent. Now, I tell you what, if you're relying on super chats and YouTube monetization to pay your bills, you need to rethink your priorities in your life.
Yeah, because it can all go away in literally a second, which a lot of people are starting to learn.
YouTube can do another whatever they did a couple years ago where everyone was up in arms. Like they changed their monetization rules, which I don't know. I'm not monetized, so it doesn't matter to me, but I know a lot of YouTubers. I mean, I love it when YouTube creators say, this is my job and YouTube's the company I work for. No, it's not.
Right.
No, it's not. YouTube, you know, could change tomorrow and say, you know what, we don't need to monetize anybody. You know, and you're screwed. Yep. So
they don't give a shit.
Yeah,
they don't care about anyone.
No.
For that 30%. Because that's it. In the end, all this fighting, all this drama, YouTube wins. They're the only winners in the end because they're getting 30% of all these donations, and all they're doing is provide, which I get it. They're providing this platform. You know, I wouldn't have the reach I have right now, which is nothing. And that's the other thing too. Like, I understand that we are such a small percentage of the smallest percentage of the internet.
Absolutely, man.
Like no one is watching us. You know, no one is watching us.
No.
But we're still able to make this little community of entertainment. And like you said, there's a marketplace in there too where people are making money off of this, which is insane.
And that's what I wanted to get to, like where it is now. I think what I'm seeing, and I think you're a leader in this charge, is now you have the inmates running the asylum.
Right.
No offense.
No, I get it. You're right.
But you have people like Corn Diff, Cardiff Electric, those are ones I'm going to name off the top of my head who have gone from fan to a channel with 1,000 subscribers, 2,000 subscribers, whatever. Right. You know, and I've said this before, it is hard to get one subscriber. You know, it really is.
It is.
El Horrible, you seem to be one of the most successful to come up from the flames of the dabbleverse.
Yes, from the ashes.
Yeah, exactly. I swear you've been on. I mean, shoot, you've had Carl on your show. You've been on Carl's show. Who are these podcasts? That's a big deal, you know.
Very exciting.
Who else have you been on? I know you've been on some other big shows.
I was on Chrissy's show.
There you go.
Once or twice. Actually, her Christmas special thing. You know, I don't bother people. If they ask me to come on, I'll come on. But the Carl one is definitely my top. Like that was insane. That was like getting called from like the minor leagues to the big leagues, and I was like, holy shit.
It's great. You're in the big leagues and you went up and you swung and I feel like you hit a home run. And I think that's what separates you from other
Thank you, sir.
dabblers.
I appreciate it, sir.
And like I said, you're funny. You're a good impersonator of Kevin Brennan. And I think you're realizing that at 16 that you are actually funny and people do think you're funny, sir. So
I appreciate it.
Keep it up. And before we leave, just tell me I'm an idiot.
Noz, you're a fucking idiot. Noz is a fucking idiot. He's a fucking idiot. This whole show, what is this? This is your show? You don't sell tickets. You're a fucking idiot. You want me to just keep going until the time runs out, you fucking idiot?
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Noz. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
It was good to meet you.
Too. We'll be in touch, and
I had fun.
Dabble on, sir.
Dabble, always be dabbling.